Hello, friends. Lee Sanders back with you guys for a new edition of the RCWR show for this Monday, August 24th, 2026. God damn, I can't believe the month of August is pretty much now in the books. They're going back, including yours truly. I'm going to be heading back for a new semester effective next week. And with that, we're going to be doing shorter shows as a result because I am in for one loaded up semester. Hey, we're minutes removed, freshly removed from a new edition of WWE RAW. Came to us this week from Ottawa, Canada. Sound off. Let me know what you had thought about tonight's show, as you can interact a couple of ways. We're streaming live on multiple outlets. That includes YouTube and Twitter. We also got some interactive polls that's up right now. So you can head on over to youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the post section and you can vote that way. We also have a live interactive poll up on our YouTube channel. So this very stream that you're watching right now, there is a live version of this on YouTube, and you could do a drive-by and you can poke your head in there, vote, and all that other lovely stuff. A lot of good stuff we're going to be getting into here on the show tonight. Besides Raw, a lot of interesting little trinkets of news that we can get into. I can even give you my thoughts later on during the broadcast on the newest episode of Lanterns that dropped on Sunday. Boy, I tell you, the mysteries, they just continue to unravel on that show. I love everything that's playing out with that. But yeah, you picked a great night to tune in. This is going to be our last deluxe edition episode with the new semester that I'm going to be embarking on coming up next week. So, what does that mean exactly? That basically means that the shows are going to be much tighter purposely. Normally I wouldn't trip, right? But since I got a new semester coming up, I got to make sure not only am I able to get my good night's rest, but I want to make sure that I'm nice and fresh for getting behind the wheel for my commute and everything. Because I tell you what, Tuesday morning, oh my God, it's just wham. And especially since I have a full day of classes that pretty much run concurrently and everything, with the exception of one. There's one where after I think it's either two or three classes, I get like about an hour, maybe almost up to 90 minutes of a little break. But for the most part, Tuesdays, like it's just wham, bam, 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 bam. So next week, going forward, we're going to be doing shows that's going to range anywhere between an hour. It could even be an hour and 15. Now, some of you guys, you've been through this before and you had like no issues with it whatsoever. I know there are others out there, they like when we go more deluxe, more all over the place and all that. So don't worry, I'll definitely remind you in the next couple of weeks so you guys can be conditioned and everything. I gotta say, tonight's edition of WWE Raw, like not for nothing, but is it safe to say that the first hour, relatively the first hour, was actually pretty good? I think you can make that argument that the first hour was really good. But then we pretty much ended the show on a stinky little fart. you know, like, man, WWE, they are trying hard with Royce Keys. I mean, really, they are trying so hard with Royce Keys. They want this to work badly for him. And I just don't think that this is gonna work, man. I don't think this is gonna play out well at all. I mean, it was weird because for those of you that didn't watch, so first off, Raw came on at a special start time of 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. on the West Coast because Raw was coming to us from Canada this week and everything. I love when we get early shows like this. It basically means if I want to do a deluxe show, that's great. If I want to go all over the place and everything, that's great. But it also means I get to go to bed at a decent time. Anytime I get to go to bed way before midnight and I can watch the news and all that in the process, that is a win for yours truly. But we have this tag match between LA Knight and Solo Sikoa, who opened up the show, and they're just in euphoria for what they did to Roman Reigns and the Bloodline last week. And LA Knight, he's now taking this new leap of faith as he's telling Solo, "Hey, I really had a hard time trusting you there and everything, but." You know what? Everything considered and how you had my back last week and all that, I'm not gonna forget that. And so basically, LA Knight telling Solo, I'm gonna be your ride or die partner for now. And you're like, oh, okay, well, isn't that special? Isn't that nice and everything? Meanwhile, the Usos, they want to extract some revenge for the embarrassment that happened to their tribal chief from last week and everything. We basically see this main event tag match that gets set up here between all four of these men. Decent little tag match for what it was worth, but in the final moments of this, we see this. Oh, hang on. We see this big black muscular guy come down, and he's got on a little tank top, a black tank top, black pants. He's got a little bandana over his face. You're like, well, that's Royce Keys, clear as day. Because what was the dead giveaway was the eyes and the hair. So it's not like they were trying to come in there looking like retribution or anything like that, all covered up. So you're like, okay, that's Royce Keys. All right, yeah, you're not fooling anybody. But then we see these two big dudes, and we're like, wait a minute, who are these two muscular big dudes that's attacking the Usos? Oh wow! And now they're attacking Knight and Sikoa. What's going on here? You're like, who are these people? Why should I care about them? And I'm not gonna even lie. I will tell you, and it may sound silly, but I saw some of the pictures that was floating around of Bronson Reed's new build. And I thought just for a brief second, oh, it's Bronson Reed. Bronson's back. But then I had to walk it back because I'm going, wait a minute, you know his tattoos by now. You know his eyes and all that. And I'm like, nah, that's not Bronson. I'm like, okay, who are these guys? Like, why should I care? And we find out that the OTM, the out the mud guys down in NXT. Now, if you're not really watching the NXT brand like that, you're not really going to know who these guys are. And then there are those that do watch NXT on a regular basis, and they will say, well, in regards to the OTM guys, don't particularly care for them, but the OTM guys, Bronco Nima and Lucian Price, they are who joined Royce Keys and beating the crap out of Knight, Sikoa, and the Usos, just laying them all out to waste. Mass destruction just all around. And we had Michael Cole on commentary basically saying, oh, they pushed Royce Keys to this. They pushed Royce Keys to this. This is the end result of everything that's been happening between Royce Keys and the bloodline. And they're really trying to. And I just couldn't help but just sit back in my recliner and just look at this and go, man, we are really grasping for straws at this point with this Royce Keys project and trying to make this work. Now, look here. I respect the hell out of Royce Keys. I understand his upbringing, and I don't need no Stephanie McMahon podcast to tell me about that. You know, he's already pretty much said it himself through the years for when he was in AEW for certain, but also when he was just coming up the ranks in the indies and all that. So I know his story. Seems like a very humbled, likable guy and everything. But I just can't help but wonder, when is enough enough? And you look at somebody and you just say, from a creative standpoint, okay, we've tried, we've done just about any and everything, but it's just not working. We need to go in a different direction. And if that different direction means maybe we need to spend that time and resources on another individual, then so be it. And just looking at all of this, I just couldn't help but say, wow, we couldn't have this same energy and enthusiasm. We couldn't do all this for Dragonoff, which I got a lot to say about Dragonoff later on in the show because apparently we got some new updated information in regards to him and all that. But you're looking at these past couple of weeks, the rise of Sikoa and Knight, and just naturally how they've just been organically getting over with the WWE fans. And it's been a beautiful thing to behold and everything. And it's like you got this great little recipe that's just brewing and everything. I mean, it's just coming along. It just the dish, it's tasting so good so far. But then you add a whole bunch of unnecessary ingredients, other people, into the mix, and now all of a sudden that dish don't taste that good anymore. So it just feels like what we saw with Royce Keys and the OTM. It feels very forced. uh it smells problematic just from the get-go. I appreciate the fact that, and we were just here last week, and I said to you guys, yo, I like the fact that WWE is trying to do their damnedest to really make Raw and SmackDown be very distinct. Do you guys recall that? I said on this very show last week, hey, Raw these days is all about fresh new faces and it's all about fresh matchups. Whereas if you want to go check out SmackDown, you get to watch your favorites and veterans and Randy Orton, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes. You get to check out Matt Cardona. You get to watch Chelsea Green and Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and right. And so I just don't know, with just such great momentum that Raw had tonight for that first hour. And then we basically like end up taking a massive shit during the second hour. And I mean, by the time we get to the end of this show, we just have exploding diarrhea in a really bad way. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of this whatsoever. Um, this is what we got to deal with though for the next little bit. This is what we have to deal with. So it'll be very interesting to see if, because this needs a lot of help now that Royce Keys and the OTM are involved in this. Like you just cannot rely on LA Knight and Solo Sokoa to carry the hell out of this. They really are not going to be able to do this alone, nor should they be in a position where they've got to shoulder this and do this alone. Now, obviously, with the way things kind of ended here, and I can't help but wonder if there is potentially more numbers in ranks for this new little stable that we're seeing of this trio. And if so, then how exactly is that going to play itself out for Solo, Knight, and the Usos? Right now, some of you guys may be saying, "Well, where's Jacob Fatu and all this?" Jacob Fatu was sidelined by Jimmy and Jay Uso. They had a bone to pick with him from last week, why he did not help at all. And Jacob pretty much told them kind of what we alluded to last week. Jacob basically on, yo, I listened to my tribal chief. He told me to hang back. That's exactly what I did. He calls the play, I run it. And that's what was ran. So, and they tried to pull rank with him, let them know, yo, we're your captain. So what we say goes. He wasn't having any of that. They insisted, referring to their referring to their custom Ulafalas, basically saying, we run plays too, and what we say goes. So they had him hang his ass out in the back while they called themselves taking care of business with this tag match for the main event. Now that they've pretty much got their asses handed to them, I can't help but wonder if Usos maybe will try to see if they can talk Jacob Fatu into, hey, like, what can we do to get on the same page here? What can we do to Like, because obviously there's no respect that's there. There's no mutual respect that's there. So what can we do to like squash all this and get on the same page once and for all? I just don't see Jacob Fatu having that conversation with them. If anything, I see next week Usos being so hot headed, going, "Yo, Us, you saw us getting our asses handed to us. What the hell was going on? Why didn't you help us? You know, especially with your boy there and Royce Keys. What the hell, right?" So, and let's not forget, one of the last times that we saw Royce Keys, he was destroyed in a street fight, if I recall correctly, against Jacob Fatu. So he pretty much has been on hiatus since then, licking his wounds and all of that. So kind of interesting that when Fatu beat Royce Keys, he beat him straight up man to man. He didn't have any interference slash help, from what I recall, from the Usos. He just pretty much went out, took care of his business, and that was that. So very interesting that Royce Keys comes back, and notice Keys has been separated from Jacob Fatu for now and everything. I can't wait to see how that little exchange is going to go down between the two and everything. Because is it going to be a case where Royce Keys and OTM, they're basically like, you saw what we did to the Usos, you saw what we did tonight in Sikoa, you got a serious choice to make here. You know, you're either with us or you're against us. I'm curious, or is a decision not even gonna be presented to Fatu, and he gonna get some of that as well. And then Roman Reigns is seeing all of this that's going on, and he's likely gonna be like, "What the hell?" Right? You're also jumping a little bit into the future with that, without a doubt, Roman Reigns LA Knight championship match, just how much of a cluster fucking interference is going to be involved in that, right? So there's a whole lot of moving parts that's in this right now, but it's going to take a lot more than Knight and Sokoa to really help carry these new ingredients and participants that's being thrown into this story arc. It's all hands on deck, and that includes Roman Reigns greatly being involved in this as well. But bad sour taste in the mouth to end things for this week's WWE Raw. Hey, once again, if you guys are tuning in, I appreciate you guys that are joining me live right now. We're on at a special start time. We normally don't come on this early, but we had Raw come on at 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific here in the United States. And so we are on much earlier than usual. So for those of you that happen to have the free time and you're joining me live right now, appreciate you. For those of you that's going to be tuning in and watching this for on demand and on the downloads, I definitely appreciate you as always. Let's keep on rocking and rolling. We are so far going over this week's WWE Raw. If you haven't voted yet, we do have some polls that's open right now. You can go to youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the post section. You can vote that way. If you're joining me live right now, you can pop your head in the YouTube live stream chat, and I have a live poll that is active right now where so far the voting results is staying steady at 100% for one option. So poke your head in there, see how that's looking. If you're not feeling that, make sure you cast your vote. Talk some more Raw Fallout, and then later on, I will give you guys my thoughts on three back-to-back episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. I had a chance to check out the Big Boss Man, the Renegade, and also what was the other one I had watched? I did not check out the Missy Hyatt one yet. I did not get a chance to watch that yet. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. So I definitely will be caught up by this Tuesday night in watching the latest Dark Side of the Ring episode. And then when I join you guys next Monday, we'll talk about Missy Hyatt and then this week's Dark Side of the Ring episode. Give you guys a 2-1. So look forward to that. Loads of stuff we'll be getting into as far as headlines go and all that. So you picked a good week, good night. Tune in to the RCWR show. Let's keep rocking and rolling. I will say this, going back to that first hour of WWE RAW. What a solid match that we had between Dragon Lee and Rey Fenix. That for me was without a doubt the match of the night. This was a semifinals matchup, and these two guys, good God Almighty, they really hit it out of the park. I love the fact I don't know who was the producer for this match. I would love to hear who it was because kudos to them. I love the fact, and I don't know if they actually had went to Triple H, Paul Levesque, Bruce Pritchard, and crew and was like, "Look, this match really needs to get a lot of breathing room here. So let's try to get them all the time that we can get them, because not for nothing, but this match is something of great significance, right? This match is very important. By the way, I am jumping around just a little bit. This actually wasn't our first match for Raw tonight, but it was the match of the night and everything. But all involved in this Dragon Lee versus Rey Fenix match, like they got to get their flowers for this because this was hella freaking good. I loved it. And remember, we were here last week, and I was saying to you guys, man, well, with Rey Fenix involved, like, yeah, it's probably going to be brother versus brother, which is okay. And like everybody's looking at this going, oh, it's a bona fide conclusion. Like it's a no brainer that Penta is going to win this tournament and he's going to go face Roman Reigns. And I made the argument on this show last week. Wait. Let's pump the brakes. Maybe this should serve as even more the reason why it should actually be Ray that wins this, right? Really give him that nice, good rub off, right? And help elevate him, his status and all that, and really essentially make yourself another overnight superstar in the process, right? That was my whole argument. Go back and check out last week's show, and you'll hear word for word what I was talking about and everything. But I feel like this match could have even gone another step up or two, but for what we got of them tonight, Dragon Lee and Ray Fenix, I'll take it. It was a fun match. Great watching these two guys. Great showing and effort by both men. Impressed the hell out of me. Like I want to see more out of these two men. Seriously, like legit. I'm not just saying. I definitely want to see more from them. So I like the way WWE has been utilizing these two in this tournament the past couple of weeks. But what I'm mainly going to be paying attention to going forward is okay. Now that the tournament is out the way, what's happening just in general. And I mean, not for nothing, but Dragon Lee has just been getting nice little rub offs here and there. Of course, the greatest rub off of them all coming from AJ Styles. And I love that he did the Styles Clash attempt there on Phoenix, paying homage there and all that. That was nice little touch. So WWE, they're still, hey, Dragon Lee, like we still like you. We still, got nothing but mad love and respect for you. We definitely want to still keep you around in the mix, and you're seeing that constantly. And Rey Fenix, there was that period there where Rey Fenix, it was just okay, he's cruising here, and it just seems like nothing's really kind of materializing. And I gotta say, of all the people to really be able to take advantage of this tournament, Ray is definitely one that really has been shining in this. So I really hope that when we get brother versus brother, putting a spoiler alert out there for you and all that, because I guess on that note we can go right to the next match, which was Penta taking on La Parka. That was a semifinal match as well. Uh, you know, not as good of a showing as Dragon and Phoenix. that might sound a little bit crazy to you, but then at the same time, if you know your lucha libre and all that other stuff, like I can hear a decent amount of you guys go, "Well, Lee, not for nothing, but that's not the La Parka that I grew up on anyway." So that's just some other dude, like, and I hear you. I hear exactly where you're coming from that. I'm kind of in that same camp as well, but it's amazing that the quality level that we had with Phoenix versus Lee did not resonate at all. It didn't bleed over at all into Penta versus La Parka. Yeah, this was this was weird. This was weird. Like we know because I'm very conflicted about this match. Because like as I was watching this match, I'm gonna tell you exactly what was going on in my mind. I felt like, okay, with everything that we know about Penta, everything that we've seen of him, okay, we know what Penta can do. So for me, I looked at this match more so about, okay, let's really try to put La Parca on a pedestal here and let's do everything that we can to make La Parca look really good. Those that maybe are just looking at him and his costume and all that other stuff, and you're just dismissing him, right? Okay, well, let's try to change the narrative on that, right? Let's change minds about that. I thought WWE did just a little tiny bit to make you go, okay, this Laparca dude, yeah, he seems pretty, but I felt they just did the bare minimum. I felt more so like it was about La Parca making Penta look really, really good. So um I'm not quite confident based on what I watched tonight. I personally didn't feel that these two guys synced slash jailed that well with each other. Um I can only imagine how for the fan base, for those that's like not really that familiar with La Parca, I can only imagine how like what's the word I'm looking for? Not entertained, but basically just they're on a borderline when it comes to La Parca because they're really not familiar with him because they're not watching the AAA product and all that, right? But and once again, remember what I was saying on this show last week? I was saying, they really need to lean more into Corey Graves. It seemed like they tried to do just a tiny bit more, but they still could have done even more to really help get these AAA guys over and all that. And my challenge to WWE going forward, now that we've gotten a really good look at some of these guys that's participated in this tournament, yeah, don't let it be a situation where they do this tournament and then we essentially never see them again because that would just be a goddamn travesty, right? Those that look really good in this tournament, you definitely need to somehow figure out how to continue having them in rotation on main WWE programming. So if that means, okay, now that they've done their commitments to Raw, okay, there's some stuff that we're trying to figure out over on SmackDown. Okay, well then let's have them do some stuff on SmackDown. Hey, is there any type of way we can have them do some stuff over on NXT? Okay, do that. Have them do some stuff on NXT. Can we do something over on Raw? Yeah, we could do that. Oh yeah, we got that John Cena tournament that's going to be coming up. Yeah, let's give these guys a couple of opportunities. Yeah, for sure. So that's the thing. You gotta remember to always keep these guys in the mix and all that. So hopefully that's exactly what WWE will be doing with some of these guys in the near future. By the way, speaking of lucha libre, Latin, Latina, Latinx, and all that, we got a kick-ass vignette of this nice looking dirty blonde brunette who's got this nice fine shape and she's shaking her butt just a little bit and she looks like she's in this club and I'm going, hey, you know your man Lee been looking at the WWE women wrestlers for too long because I'm going, hips don't lie, baby. That's Lola Vice, and they don't show you Lola Vice's face at all. So they're just mainly having you look at the back of her head And I liked the dress that she was wearing because the back of it, it was this nice open back. And boy, I tell you, I love a woman that wears a dress like that, especially if they've got a nice wide shoulder, and a little bit of definition going on and all that. It's like, yeah. And then the next thing you know, this woman that was in the club, we see her punching the hell out of a punching bag and all that. Now her hair is braided up, and like, if you've been following the career of Lola Vice down in NXT, you're going, yo, that's Lola, like legit. Like, come on now, like just show her face already, right? But they still don't show you the face, right? That's the funny part. They still don't show you the face, but you know who it is. But the little vignette package ends with the date September 14th, which is a Monday. So that is when Lola Vice will be making her Raw debut. Now, what I can't help but wonder is this when she's gonna debut? And she's basically a free agent, and Adam Pierce and Nick Aldis, they're going to be jockeying for position to pretty much get her, or is she just a lock for Monday Night Raw? That's the real question. Because like, as soon as I saw this vignette and I was giving praise that, oh snap, Lola Vice is coming, I was giving the praise online, some people were already going, oh man, this sucks though, because you would have thought she'd have gone to SmackDown, because she's dating Damian Priest and all. Like, don't jump the gun so fast, right? She could just appear first on Raw as a free agent, and then she could go to SmackDown. Same deal. And it's like, okay, who's going to give her the better offer? Who's she going to end up signing with? It could honestly go down that way. Now, what we really should be asking ourselves as fans is who benefits more, which brand wise benefits more from having Lola Vice. And I can make the argument to you that Lola's presence would greatly be more appreciated over on SmackDown. Okay. Because for me, I mean, I'm looking at the current landscape of SmackDown right now, and Lethal Influence. What's their name? Is that the girl's name? Lainey Reed, JC Jane, Fallon Henley. Love those girls. They're continuing to do pretty solid over there on SmackDown, right? Got no issues with them whatsoever. We got Tatum Paxley that's over there now. Tatum Paxley, whatever that girl's name is, Spooky Girl. We got her over there. Okay, she's coming along. Matter of fact, she's supposed to have a one-on-one match against Mishin this Friday on SmackDown. That's going to be her in-ring debut match. So looking forward to that and everything. We got Charlotte Flair, Jay Cargill. They're still kind of beefing and all of that good stuff. We got Chelsea Green, who's doing her thing right now as the interim champion. That's good. That's good for what it's worth, but it just feels like we need more of it seems like we need more of a little sizzle over there on SmackDown for the women's side of things. It feels like we need a little bit more of a pop. And the fact that you don't have Rhea Ripley right now, that super attraction, I think Lola Vice very easily could slide right in there. The sister knows how to talk. The camera loves her. I mean, she's good with media obligations and all that. Uh, she would not get lost in the shuffle, I feel, over on SmackDown. Now, if you were to put her on Raw, I don't know, man. That's where it gets really, really short and kind of narrow, I personally feel, right? Yeah, we got Becky, we got we got Io, we have Lyra, we've got Liv, Raquel, Roxanne, Stephanie, Sol Ruka. I already mentioned Lyra. So I mean, kind of good, right? Kind of good, but I just kind of feel at the same time, Lola. Let me think about this. I still feel SmackDown, but I'm just looking at the Raw side of things. Ah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I'm not that convinced that Lola would really shine over on the Raw brand. I'm really not that convinced because it seems like on Raw things are just really so narrow, so focused on only but like a handful of girls, right? And in this case, it's really like the Liv Morgan show. Like unless you're in that Liv Morgan kind of orbit, that's really it, right? To my point, you look at the main players right now: Liv, Stephanie, Becky, and like everything else is pretty much secondary. So, are we really gonna kick things off on the good proper note with Lola, or are we just kind of gonna have her delegated to mid card status? Like, is she maybe gonna chase after the women's intercontinental championship or something like that? Like, I don't really know about that. I don't know. I don't know. But then that's exactly how WWE could be looking at it. Sound off. Let me know what you guys think. But just my wishful thinking. I hope she ends up going over to SmackDown. Women's action, by the way. Stephanie Vakir taking on Roxanne Perez. Stephanie Vakir's first match since WrestleMania, picking up a win against Roxanne Perez. I got to tell you, man, some parts of this match, it was really rough to watch because the girls were having timing issues. I was seeing a lot of, I don't know if they were like too over, it felt a little too over choreographed. I hate using that word, but that's definitely what I want to go with. There were a lot of parts in this match that just looked a little bit sloppy from the standpoint, not sloppy from like, oh my God, you messed up, right? Not from that, but just kind of like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Like, seriously, right? Um, wasn't really liking that. Wasn't really liking that, but it seemed that the longer the match went, they kind of shook that off. So I would say the first, I would say the first 3 minutes, 4 minutes of this match, because it was about a 9 8 9 minute match at most. I would say the first 3 to 4 minutes, it kind of felt like a filling out phase kind of deal. And then you can see what I'm talking about. It was just kind of, but then once we went into the second half, that's when the girls really kind of started clicking and all of that. Roxanne misses a moonsault as Stephanie hits the double underhook lift into the chin breaker, picking up the victory there. Nice, fun little match there. Liv tried to sneak in an attack on Stephanie, but Becky Lynch ended up coming out there, tossing her into the timekeepers area. Becky pretty much having her face to face with Stephanie afterwards, letting her know, yo, that's twice now. I've saved your ass. You owe me big time. Can't wait to see how that's going to work out as far as favors go and everything. Wasn't there one more thing that happened with the women? Yeah, there was. There's a backstage segment where Lyra Valkyria had crossed paths with Sol Ruka and basically told her, "Hey, you got that championship match coming up against Raquel Rodriguez in 2 weeks on Raw." And Lyra basically was like, "Give me your championship opportunity, and once I win it, you and me, we can run it back." So Ruka's like, "No, you was telling me all about going out, earning it, and all that. Okay, well, how about you take your own advice? You go out there and you do the same thing." And Lyra's whole counter was, the last time somebody talked to me like that, it didn't end quite well for them. You remember Bailey? So it's kind of like the first time in a couple of weeks we've heard the name Bailey and all that. Lyra kind of dressing a little bit better. I guess she kind of wasn't liking that she was being told she looks like a meth head. She actually tried to dress up a little bit pretty or whatever. I'm not feeling Io Sky's role being delegated to backstage where she's just making the funny faces and oh, she creepy. Like I'm not really a fan of that. Um, Stop WWE, please. We don't need that with EO. It's like legit. Like that's twice now, and both times, hey, little buddy, and both times it's been cringe. How about we let somebody else try it for a change, right? Like, and we don't even need to say she's creepy. We could just be like, bitch off her rockers, or that's just a twisted, right? It just a lot of women do some stuff like that. What would be kind of cool is WWE likes to normally do these little Easter eggs where you see some stuff happening backstage, but then there's a story within a story and a story. If you look hard enough, you can like, hey, what's going on back there? Like, what are they talking about or whatever? I wouldn't mind it if we saw Lyra in a position where she was kind of doing something similar, where your main focus is on whoever's being interviewed, but maybe Lyra's in the background and she's fucking around with somebody, throwing the papers out of their hands, or maybe she's writing graffiti on the wall, or she's just rocking back and forth, sitting on the floor, Indian style, or some crap like that. Like, that's kind of a cool way you can continue to do some weird, abstract, silly, what the hell crap with her and everything. So, some interesting little setups that we got for Raw in 2 weeks' time and all that. Javon Evans, meanwhile, had a match against Big Haz. Big Ass coming now to some real cool kick ass entrance music. I gotta say, I was feeling the music. I was bobbing my head, going, "That's a damn good theme." I'm actually liking that. That's a damn good theme. It almost kind of had a Braun Strowman vibe to it. I gotta say. Uh, as far as this match goes that he had with Javon Evans, I'm not really sure how to feel about this match. I got to be honest with you. Um, I'm not quite buying Big Kaz as a solo act. It's still early in the experiment of the honeymoon period and all of that, and I know a lot of people are like, Big Kaz, man, you got to put him with Enzo. That's where he shined. He shined so well with Enzo Amore. You got to put him back with Enzo Amore. And I happen to be of the camp that goes, well, with a guy with that size, that build, you got to see what you can do with him as a solo act first. And I appreciate WWE thinking like that and trying to go in that direction. But some of the issues that I have kind of has to do with the execution of the character so far. And I think we should be doing so much more with this character, right? Not to mention Javon Evans. Let me kind of talk about this. I want to talk about both men here, and just the way everything was projected here and setting up this match. So Javon Evans, let me make sure I got this right. So we saw Javon Evans attack Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough backstage when Dirty Dom was talking to Ray and wanted to know, yo, why didn't you put me in a tournament? Like, how you just gonna just retrospect me like that? And Ray's like, yo, this was for luchadors. And Dom's like, bullshit, man. You just don't respect me. And then Javon just attacks the hell out of both of these guys. And you're like, okay, somebody's ready for their fight against Big Cass coming up. Okay, that's what's up. Need that same energy coming out there into the ring. That's how you do it. That's what's up. Then when Javon's entrance hits, he's coming out. He's got to grab the camera. He's got to do all the he's got to do all that shit. And you're like, nah, man, like the time for that is not here, not now. Right now, you need to be in the ring, right? You got to have a serious look on your face because you've been disrespected for consecutive weeks with this big cast dude. Like, come on here, right? And so then we have Big Kaz come on out And I don't know if this was just a production type of deal, type of booking or whatever, but like we had to make sure that since Big Cats, this was going to be the first time everybody got to hear his entrance music. We got to make sure the big man is able to do his full entrance. Fuck that. No, we shouldn't even seen that. Like the minute that Big Cass's music comes out and Big Cass, soon as he appears, Javon should have been on that behind on site. On site. That's how it should have been. I'm not really a fan of how all this had played out, quite honestly. I wish this actually would have been a case where Javon is just so pissed off over the fact that Big Cass has been coming at him week after week after week with the cheap attacks. I wish it would have been a case where Big Cass was maybe arriving at the arena and we hear the commentators say, "Yeah, we're going to see Big Cass and Javon Evans later on in a match tonight here on Monday Night Raw." Oh, snap! And Javon just comes out of nowhere beating the crap out of Big Cass or whatever. Officials try to, break it up and all that. I wish we could have seen something that kind of would have played out like that. And then maybe somehow he could have eventually spilled on over out to the ring. Like that would have sufficed as well. Um, I've always felt when it comes to big men, and Kaz is definitely in this category. I've always felt that a big man, it should be very rare that they leave their feet. It needs to be a big spectacle. It needs to be a big deal when they leave their feet. And I did not like the fact that Big Kaz was on his ass a bunch of times during this. And look, y'all can come back and you can say, but Javon, he's the high flyer. He's got the speed and, he's got this, he's got that. And it's like, yeah, you can hit me with all that. That's fine and dandy. But put a little bit of psychology into the mix, I always say. Now, we can look at Big Cass clear as day, and we can see that a lot of his strength it comes in those arms and it comes in that upper chest of his, right? That's where all that upper strength is, right? So, you know, if you're Javon Evans, you're going, all right, I'm gonna use my speed to my advantage, but I'm gonna do my best to target your legs because I know you're not really a leg guy, right? All your offense is in your arms. That's what it's all about. Yeah, you can do a big boot and everything, but all your power, all your offense is really in that upper body of yours. So I'm going to focus more on those long legs of yours, right? And I wish it would have been that kind of a psychology that was going on. By the way, at one point, we had the action that spilled out to the outside, and I think it was Big Cass that was sent over to the wall barrier, monitors and everything. And we see Javon. He's like, okay, let me go for a high risk, high reward maneuver and all that. And Jessica Carr, who's the referee, no fault of hers, but I'm going, where's the counting? And Jessica Carr never is counting these guys down at all. I thought this match was going to end in a double count out, double disqualification. But eventually they both got back into the ring and Jessica was not even counting. Like the whole time she wasn't counting. So there's just a whole lot of missed opportunities here in this one, the way this match was executed. I wish we could have seen a fired up Javon Evans. Just, he's ready. Big Cass comes out and he's playing the game of yeah, I know I'm in your head. Look at you, right? And I wish he kind of would have teased him a little bit throughout this match and all of that. So um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This was just really, 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 really weird on a lot of levels. That has me still kind of going, what is the end game here? Because obviously we're still not quite done with Javon and Kaz. Doesn't feel like that. So where are we going with this? What's the end game to this? I don't know. I don't know, guys. Just I'm not a fan. Not a fan of how all this had played out for what it was worth. From there, nice little bright spot. The contract signing between Braun Breaker and Oba Femi. This one had played out pretty good, pretty entertaining. So, but some issues in this at the same time. I gotta say, so we had Braun Breaker who questions why Oba Femi feels his shit don't stink as Oba, is looking on and Braun's like, let's be honest, you weaseled your way in here after I got injured. If it wasn't for me being hurt, you wouldn't have all these opportunities that you've been given, right? And he's going, so you won the King of the Ring, big deal, right? He's like, you beat Brock Lesnar, big deal. It doesn't equal championships, right? And this was so goddamn. I'm looking at this, I'm scratching my head and I'm going, who's writing this shit? Is it AI? Because this shit is weak sauce. Oba Femi is like a NXT World Heavyweight Champion, just as Braun Breaker was. And let's not forget when Oba Femi made the decision that he was going to come up to the main roster, he relinquished the NXT World Heavyweight Championship. Nobody beat him for it. And so I'm listening to what Braun Breaker is saying, and I'm just going, okay, we want to talk about championships and like, it doesn't equate to championship. Like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? Like legit, right? I was anticipating this contract signing for so many reasons because I thought they were going to hype up the fact that, at least from Braun's perspective, I thought Braun was going to be the one to say, you know what, everything that's been happening with you so far, it's all been luck. And I'm explaining to you the reason why it's all been luck. It's all been luck because your ass and my ass, we've never crossed paths with each other. Let's take it back to NXT, right? And like that would have been great because it turns out these two men never faced each other one on one in NXT. And you hear that, you're just going, how is that even possible? Like legit. We talked about it here, if not last week, the week before. We talked about how like it's crazy as it sounds like they never crossed paths. And so I thought maybe Braun Breaker was gonna kind of go in that you've been lucky, but your luck is gonna run out at Sunday night's main event. I thought we were gonna kind of get that from Braun, but instead we get this weak sauce, half-assed, oh, you getting the opportunities that you got because I got hurt. Yeah, I got hurt. And I'm just looking at that and I'm just going, oh, no, no. And this isn't Braun's fault, obviously. This is what he's pretty much being given. This is what he's running with, right? This is the play and he's executing it, right? But I'm just scratching my head. I'm shaking my head and just believe going, this is fucking weak sauce. Like, come on, man. We gotta do Braun. We gotta do Brawny better than that. Like, come on, seriously. Oba Femi, the usual spill. Although I did get a chuckle with Oba calling Braun Orange Funny Man, because of Breaker's tan. That actually was funny. I wish Oba would have came right back. I mean, it's typical Oba Femi fashion promo, but I wish Oba would have countered right back and he would have said something along the lines of, you want to talk about, luck, or you want to talk about how I got the opportunities that I got only because, you were hurt. Like, wait a minute. Am I the only one that knows your family lineage here in the WWE, in this industry that we work in? You want to talk about hurting like Bronny? You like had a silver spoon in your mouth like day fucking one before you were even a thought, before you were even conceived in your mother's womb, right? I wish Oba would have countered right back and really blur the lines and be like, you had everything essentially handed to you because of who your father and your uncle is. And meanwhile, a person like me had to work twice as hard. And that's exactly how I would have phrased it. You know why I would have phrased it just like that? I would have phrased it just like that because people would have been like, "Oh, he's going the black route," and then you got those knuckleheads. Why everything got to be about race? No, no, no. The route that I'm going is no. This is we're talking about intergenerational wealth. We're talking about inheritance of wealth, right? And in this case, we're talking about Braun Breaker's family and just how that interracial inheritance of well, because of who this person is and this person, like these doors are automatically gonna open for you, right? WWE had a great opportunity to really, really go there and really help you go. This is what makes Braun Breaker different, and this is what makes Oba Femi different, right? You know, completely like different approaches to moving up the ranks in the business and all that other stuff. You know, and it would have been a great opportunity for Oba to go, you know, hey, at least when, you know, I was coming up the ranks, at least you didn't see me being so goddamn desperate as to hitch my wagon on the somebody who, you know, hopefully was going to take me to the promised land. Up to this point, I've done everything on my own, on my terms. Can you say the same thing? No, because you've essentially had somebody holding your hand the entire way, right? I mean, this was just so, and then it's the truth because, you know, look, one point we had Braun Breaker teaming with Baron Corbin. I guess they really don't want to acknowledge that, but like, I think any and everything should be on the table here, right? Put it all on the table, lay your cards out. You know, then Braun comes on up and he's doing his thing. He's doing his thing with the vision, with Paul Heyman and you know, all that whole crap. Let's not also forget one of the first times that he was a solo act on Raw while it was still under Vinnie Mac. You know, that was a clusterfuck. I still remember him. He was smiling and everything. Remember that? I was on this show and I was like, what the hell is that all about? This is like, this is very Braun Breaker uncharacteristic. Like, we got him appearing, he's just smiling. Like, this is the Braun Breaker that we were watching down in NXT. It's like Left Twix wasn't like in the loop about what is going on with Right Twix. Like, where's the communication here? Like, what the hell? So this contract signing was just it was promising. It had so much promise, but it came up so very short. It really did. The only thing that was kind of cool about this contract signing was when Braun Breaker basically signed the contract and then he basically said, "Won't you get your daddy to sign it?" He was talking about Paul Heyman and Paul's like, "Why are you saying this? Like, why you got to do this? Like, legit." And Breaker's like, "Nah, I've seen the way that you've been, you know, cozying up to him the past couple of weeks and everything. You know, that's your boy, right? That's your man and everything, right? Okay, well, sign the contract for him, daddy. Go ahead. Since you pretty much, you know, giving him these endorsements left and right and all that, you know, won't you do it for him? Pretty much use it as a cheap attack there to get a sucker punch in on Oba. And then if I remember right, Austin Theory tried and get involved. It was like a 2-on-1 beatdown for a little bit. Oba, now I did like how they made Oba end up countering the spear. That was good because I was looking at how all that was playing out. I'm going, we're about 2 weeks away. Nah, don't let Oba take no spear just yet. Don't let him get any. No, no, no. Like, let's really stretch this out for what it's worth. So I liked how Obo was able to counter the spear, pretty much send Breaker over the ropes, then focus his attack on Theory, send his ass crashing through the contract signing table. Nice little setup how they did all that, but leading up to that, wasn't really a fan of any of that stuff that was going on. I think we were I would imagine this was not what you guys were expecting for me to say. I would imagine. You probably thought I was going to say fabulous, fantastic contract signing. It was on point. It was good. It was no. Trying to think if there was anything else from tonight's Raw. I'm looking at my notes here. So we went through the Stephanie Vickier, Roxanne Perez match. We went through Dragon Lee, Rey Fenix. We went through Javon, Big Kaz. We already talked about Penta, La Parka. We talked about the tag match between the Usos, Knight, and Sikoa. No, that pretty much was everything else from tonight's WWE Raw. We already went through it already, so that was it. So all said and done, solid in-ring action there from Dragon Lee, Ray Phoenix. Also decent little match with Stephanie Vickier, Roxanne Perez. Beyond that, mm, like I said, the first hour of Raw was good, and I still stand behind that because that first hour basically consisted of Stephanie and Roxanne, Dragon Lee, Ray Phoenix, and then I think the contract signing might have been part of that first hour too. But then afterwards, everything just kind of went downhill with the massive wet fart with Royce Keys and what's the name of those guys? Out the gutter, out your mouth, open the mouth, whatever the hell those guys' names are. But bit risky what they're doing there with that OTM bloodline, mixing all of that. I'm praying, I'm pulling that it's a success, but oof, oof, oof. Let's see what you guys had to say about Raw. Go to the polling results right now. We'll go over to youtube.com/the RCWR show and click on the post section, see what you guys are saying. Let's see. So we still got early voting that is coming in. That's because we're on much earlier than usual. By the way, I appreciate you guys that were interacting on the post from the last couple of days. I know a lot of you guys were really showing up in full force, letting your voices be heard from last Monday's WWE Raw. We had about almost 35 votes come in. And top dog right now, this is from last week's Raw. 69% of the vote that came in for that Raw in Buffalo, New York. You guys said it was a thumbs up show. So good stuff right there. Meanwhile, I'm looking in the live chat. Still early voting. I'm not seeing anything pop up yet. Let's look in the live chat, see if I can get some type of a gauge here. Right now, we're still sitting on 100% of the vote coming in, staying in the middle for this week's Raw. Now, watch, that's going to change drastically. So, for those of you that's going to be listening to this for on demand on the downloads, always, as I stress and point out to you guys, when you show up to our YouTube channel the very next day, whether you want to do it around this time or like early afternoon, boy, you're gonna see what's going on and what people had to say and everything. Now, I think Raw goes back to its regular day and time next week. I don't really remember WWE doing any promoting time wise for Raw next week, so I have to see how that plays out. Appreciate everybody that sounded off though. Keep it coming though. Like I know it's early voting that's coming in, but keep it coming. Keep it coming. Let's see. Let's get into some more stuff here. Appreciate everybody that's tuning in live right now, where you're checking out the stream via YouTube, or you're doing Twitter, or you're doing Facebook, however you're doing it, or maybe you're representing and checking the show out for on-demand and downloads, however you're doing it. Appreciate you guys as always. Let's get into a little bit of headlines. We're gonna mix it up for a bit here. I know TNA lockdown was over the weekend and looks like AJ Styles' son Avery, not only has he made his TNA debut, but he has signed a contract with TNA. So we're going to be seeing him on the regular. So looking forward to seeing the young man. I've yet to see him in ring action. So Looking forward to seeing what the young man is about. Some of your results from lockdown over the weekend: Joe Alonzo defeated the hometown man. So since Alonzo won, he earned a TNA contract. Meanwhile, that was a dark match, by the way. Pre-show matchup, you had the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. They defeated BDE and Rich Swan in a tag match. Trey Miguel defeated Special Agent Zero via pinfall. Then for the actual card, AJ Francis defeated Elijah in a steel cage match. Allie and the returning Kiera Hogan defeated the Elegance brands Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance. It was a steel cage match for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championship. I'm glad that Kiera returned to TNA because I was checking her out in AEW for that hot minute, and I had high expectations for her on the AEW roster. I thought for sure she was going to be moving up the ranks rather fast. I had pictured her being in matches against Willow Nightingale, Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Tony Storm. I definitely thought she was going to be like an impact player. So I was greatly disappointed with how her booking ended up being in AEW. And honestly, for me personally, she should have never left TNA Wrestling. That's my honest opinion. She should have never left TNA Wrestling. So I'm glad that she's back in there. Now, maybe we'll get to see her partner slash her husband eventually, Diamante. I still think the two of them as a tag team is muy fuego. So hopefully we can get them reunited down the line. Frankie Kazarian defeated Moose in the Escape the Cage match. Meanwhile, Zaya Brookside successfully defended the TNA Knockouts World Championship against Elena Black. That match alone is getting a lot of buzz on social media. I mean, it was pretty freaking hardcore and everything. Apparently, some newfound respect there for Elena Black as a result. Elsewhere, Mustafa Ali defeated Jason Hotch. Steel cage match for the TNA Intercontinental Championship. And we had Leon Slater defeat Cedric Alexander in a last man standing steel cage match for the TNA X Division Championship. Now, had Slater lost, his previous title reign would have been erased from history. So, good stuff right there. And then the Systems, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Bear Bronson, and Alicia Edwards defeated Ricky Sosa, Fabian Ackner, Casey Navarro, and Jada Stone. And in the main event match, the Nemeths, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, defeated Matt and Jeff Hardy, steel cage tornado tag match for the TNA World Tag title. So yes, the brothers are the tag champions. So if you're keeping track, that means that Nick Nemeth, on top of having the World Tag Championship, now he has also the TNA World Championship. So he is just collecting all the gold right now and everything. But it was getting a lot of good buzz, that TNA lockdown. I wish I would have been able to watch it, but I was busy doing some preparations for the upcoming semester and everything. So I will be checking it out later in the week, though, just to see what all I had missed and everything. I really wish I would have been watching that in real time. Hey, we're learning more details as it's emerging surrounding Eli Dragunov's WWE departure, and the whole situation is making WWE look pretty bad. Now, there are reports, we got to take those reports with a grain of salt, obviously, but there's some reports that's floating around that basically WWE, they felt that Dragonoff was a great hand, a great talent, no doubt about that, but that they couldn't make money with him. That basically he didn't scream print money. And to hear that, and then basically we're also hearing that WWE wanted to do something with Dragonoff where allegedly he was supposed to be back like right before SummerSlam. Some reports are saying he was supposed to be involved like SummerSlam weekend, but like all of that did not come to fruition. And you're like, huh, what's the real deal here? What's really going on here? But to hear the stuff about good hand, good talent, but you know, he's not printing money, he's not a money maker, then to that I say, well, do what you need to do to figure out how this guy can print you money. Because when you have a guy like Dragonoff with that awesome look of his and the intensity that he brings into the ring, you want to figure out ways that you can market that. And you're trying to tell me that for $1 billion company that is WWE slash TKO, you're trying to tell me you can't figure out ways to, well, like, look, if you can't figure it out, then bring in an expert that can figure it out and have them sit down and, okay, so this is what we need to do if we're trying to really like package this guy, and we're trying to figure out ways to print some money off of him. Like, this is how we need to do it. um I mean, I kind of understand if this, let's just say this is true, what we're hearing from WWE's perspective. In let's say this is true, then this is where you really need to sit down with Dragonoff and you go, hey, look, you've been gone for a minute. What do you think? What can we do? How can we essentially, you know, merchandise wise, like how can we really get you over? Like what's some ideas? This is where you're literally saying to the talent, help us help you get over. Like it's supposed to be a partnership, right? Let's join forces and let's make this happen, right? Because we're in this too, right? Some employers, they do this. They're so notorious for it. They will say, "Hey, we're a family. It's a team effort. We're in this together. So, when you succeed, we succeed, and we want to do everything in our power to help you succeed, right? We want to give you the necessary tools that." And so, if this is true that WWE was thinking this way about this guy, then they really should have gone to bat for him even more and try to figure out from a marketing perspective, like, okay, how do we do this? How do we do this with this guy? Because there are certain people that I'm looking at that's on the roster for not just Raw, not just SmackDown, not just NXT. I can even look at Evolve. I can even go and look at some stuff in AAA and go, yeah, buddy, you enjoy it while it lasts because it ain't gonna be forever. You are so lucky right now. And I see a guy like Dragonoff, and I go, okay, well, what exactly are you? Here's the thing with Dragonoff. This may sound really like unpopular to say, but who he reminded me of? And I know that the guy had a lot of controversy and all that other shit. And it's despicable what he did to his family, without a shadow of a doubt. No disputing that, right? No, no. But as far as the in-ring presence, right? The intensity, the ferocity, and all that, the viciousness. Dragonoff reminded me a lot of Chris Benoit. And I just wish that WWE kind of would have really leaned into that more. It's unfortunate that Dragonoff assuming these reports are true, it sucks that basically at the end of the day, what he ultimately was a victim of is, do you move the algorithm? Are you helping with the engagements? Are you helping with the clicks? Are you popular in the searches? Because if not, if you're barely making a, then and that fucking sucks. It really does. And this is why I'm going on and on and on and on and on about this. It's like, so wait a minute. We can put Royce Keys on the Stephanie McMahon podcast, which, no shade to Royce, good dude, but that wasn't really one of the best Stephanie McMahon shows that was out there. I've heard far better than what we have with Royce Keys, right? If ever a pet project to, okay, let's reintroduce this guy to the WWE universe, let's really, truly put the force behind him. And Lord knows you need content for Club WWE. We couldn't fire up something with Corey Graves, and Corey Graves, back in the day, he used to do this show. A lot of you guys probably not know this, but he used to do this show where he would talk all things ink, tattoo ink. And so he would have different WWE superstars, and they would either go get some ink together, or they would just go grab a bite to eat or whatever, and they would talk about their tattoos with Corey. It was a really great show. Like, okay, so we can't do something like that with, because a lot of times when we're going on social media, we find out that a lot of these men and women that we see beating the crap out of each other for our entertainment each and every single week, and we're like, wow, they can't talk for shit. We go on their social media pages and we find out they actually can talk. Boy, they got a lot of personality. They're more banging and booming than what we see of them on TV. And it's like, yo, this thing that's over here on social media, why can't that be transplanted over to what we're seeing on TV with them? What the hell? So, like, dude's gonna be fine. Dude's gonna be fine. Whether that's with AEW or whoever, he's gonna be fine. Um, but Jesus, WWE, come on, do better. Like, seriously, do better, man. To my point too, like, that also ties to, okay, well, personality wise, how can you really get yourself over? How can you get yourself over with the crowd and all that? Not for nothing, but there was a really good point that JBL had made recently, where he basically had said I think it was his show, or maybe in an interview, he had said, look, these talents like WWE, they need to strongly consider holding acting classes. And I agree with that 1,000%. 1,000%. There is no reason why in 2026 you should not have your talents be involved in acting classes. It would benefit them tremendously. I remember, for example, Edge. I remember when he went away for a little bit and he started taking some acting classes. It did him a wonder of good. I'm trying to think who was another one that started benefiting. Roman Reigns. I remember he started taking some acting classes. Some of you guys may be like, he still acts the same way. Like, no, he he did take some acting classes. Night and day. Like, now he's better. John Morrison was another one that took acting classes, and he got better for it as well. There is a lot that you can learn from acting. There is a lot that you can learn from, I've taken a few acting classes in my respected time, so it's not like I'm just saying that just to be throwing it out there. I've taken acting classes. I've taken classes where I need to learn how to, be a better presenter in front of the camera, making sure that, as far as eye contact goes and all that other stuff, like little nuanced things that, like, most people don't even think about, right? Like, I say, yeah, JBL is actually on to something there because I don't know if you guys recall, but there was this footage that was running around recently where you had this guy. I don't know if it was at the WWE Performance Center. I think it was. And it was just this regular, average looking dude. Looked like he hasn't wrestled before in his entire life. And he's telling the wrestlers how to cut a promo. And I'm going, wait a minute, they're taking their cues from this guy? And like, my mindset is, wait a minute, what is your authority? And what I mean by that is, what do you bring to the table that validates what you're saying? Why should people care what you have to say? What makes you an authority figure on this particular topic? Were you like a writer for a hit TV series or something? And like what's going on, right? Because if it's a case where it's like, no, we're talking about the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, or we're talking about Ric Flair, or it's Dwayne the Rock Johnson that's teaching this class. Then it's like, well, you know what, motherfucker, you're in really good hands. You're in really good hands. But when you have just an average person that like there's no connection whatsoever, like he's just a corporate hack. It's like, so yeah, I definitely like the idea of, and I think more and more wrestling companies, but definitely WWE particularly and AEW as well. I really think they would have their talents benefit tremendously if they say to them, "Hey, look, we see a lot of promise in you, but you're a little shaky in these areas. We got this great deal where if you go and you take this class, not only will you learn some stuff, but we can try to see if we can get you a little bit more TV time, assuming that you're coming along, you're going in the right direction and all that. What do you say, right? Create that little extra incentive. And like, look, here's the best part about these acting classes, right? It's 2026. It's no longer a case where, oh man, I don't have the free time. I mean, you're talking about I got to get up and I got to physically go to this low. That's the beautiful part. It's 2026 now. You can now join anywhere around the world in these classes and do the shit virtually. Virtually. You can do this stuff remotely. So JBL is definitely on to something. I mean, just close your eyes and imagine that. All the people that are coming in at the WWE Performance Center, or all the people that's coming in for this promotion, just imagine they all are signed up and they basically are participating either from their phone or from their laptop, their desktop setup, and they're participating in a uh, in a uh, in a in a remote class at the same time each and every single week. Don't let it be a situation where it's an asynchronous class. That's the best type of class because then you can really just go at your own accord, set your little reminders and all that to turn the work in and all that, right? Oh man, he's absolutely right. He is absolutely right. I'm with him 1,000% on that one. Speaking of wrestling and investing money, I'll tell you what was not a good investment, and that is AEW Fight Forever. I don't know if you guys had saw this. I had shared it on social media over the weekend, and unfortunately, the AEW Fight Forever video game lost a lot of money. A lot of money. Shout out to the good folks over at Forbes. They noted that AEW Fight Forever flopped with a reported $30 million and losses. $30 million in losses. That is just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Shout out to, give me a second here. I'm dealing with a pop up. Shout out to Alfred Kanua over there at Forbes. He pretty much had wrote about this. I know sometimes he catches a little bit of heat for some things, but you know, when he's not, doing a little favoritism or kind of going in one direction, he actually puts some really good stuff out. So, in a nutshell, AEW's 2023 video game Fight Forever reportedly suffered a massive $30 million loss, significantly overshooting its budget and missing sales targets by half. Gaming journalist Mike Straw revealed development delays pushed its release, escalating costs and leading to lukewarm reviews. With no current agreement with developer Ukes, a direct sequel is highly improbable. This financial setback adds to a critical period for AEW, which faces uncertainties with its WBD TV rights deal expiring in 2028 amid a potential Warner Brothers Discovery Paramount Plus merger. Despite strong pay per view performance, low TV attendance, and underwhelming Wembley ticket sales, further underscore the promotion's challenges, making a new game a distant prospect. This is a prime example of what happens when you're doing too much way too soon. It just is. And let me ask you something. How many of you guys remember the restaurant chain Quiznos? There was a time where Quiznos was giving Subway a serious run for its money. I mean, you were seeing Quiznos all over the place, like left and right. I mean, just Quiznos was the shit. Way long before Subway started doing the oven toasted subs and all that. Quiznos was first, right? And the soups that Quiznos would make, right? Now, for those of you that have never experienced a Quiznos, I think there would be a good majority of the good folks out there that would agree with me when I say this. Like, as far as how could I kind of describe how Quiznos was back in the day? Would y'all agree that Potbellies is basically how Quiznos was, but Quiznos was even better than Potbellies? Would y'all say that to a certain degree? I think that's kind of like a safe bet, right? Just kind of give you guys now. Hopefully, you've eaten at a Potbelly. And if you haven't eaten at a Potbelly, you're really really missing out. Like, go eat there already. But I brought up Quiznos because what was ultimately the death of Quiznos is the fact that Quiznos expanded way too fast, way too fast. And AEW, I get it. They wanted to ride the momentum that was going on, and it was like, look, this is our 15 minutes. Let's take advantage. But yeah, they really had no business making that video game. And I remember being here on this show, and it just seemed like that game was never going to get released. And I just remember being on here talking about, they're going over budget, they're going over budget, they're going over budget. Like, what the hell? I ended up playing a little bit of that game too. I don't know if I can still access it on my Xbox account, because normally when I power on my Xbox and I look at games and apps, and I can see like all that I've like ever purchased, and if I want to, I can easily retrieve it. I don't know if because I've never looked for Fight Forever, but I do remember when Fight Forever initially came out. I do remember playing it. I did pay for it. I did pay for it. I played that game, no bullshit. I played that game twice. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Now, the graphics were great. I definitely enjoyed the graphics. It kind of gave me a No Mercy meets WWE All Stars vibe to it. I don't know if you guys are kind of getting that same vibe as well, but I definitely had enjoyed it. Um, but at the same time, I just there's something about the game I really just I couldn't get into it. I wish I could tell you guys definitively what it was that kind of, here's what made me really clock out. But it's weird because I remember when the TNA Impact Wrestling game came out, and y'all that have been longtime listeners, you've heard me bring that game up a lot of times because, like, I'm one of like maybe 300, 400, or 500 people on Xbox that unlocked all the achievements for that game, including the wasn't there a viral code? It was like some type of a virus code where I think you had to defeat somebody that defeated an actual TNA wrestler. And I remember back in the day, there would be like actual TNA wrestlers that would hop on a Friday night and a Saturday night. And if you're fortunate enough to beat them or you played them, that's how you would get the virus. And then if somebody, I think it was if somebody you played against, if they had played that TNA, so it was kind of like a weird virus that was going on that way. It was really badass the way they thought about it. I wish they would do more unlock achievement codes kind of like that because that was really cool back in the day. But that's a game that I've been itching. Man, I wish that Xbox would kind of make this be available again. I'd love to go back and and sometimes I've actually fired up my Alienware and I've played a PC version of that game. A couple of little hacks here and there, but with the AEW game, I don't know what it is. I just find myself I cannot go any further into that game. And they've got some really fun, crazy, outrageous stuff that they added into that game that I thought was really, really cool, wonky, and all of that. I would say WWE All Star meets No Mercy meets, oh man, what's that game? Saints Row. Saints Row. You cannot tell me that the people involved were not greatly influenced by all of those games. Hang on here. There's like a couple of comments that came in from people that wanted to sound off about this game and all that. Shout out to Dua. Dua had said, I don't care what no one says. This game was cool. It took this game just to get 2000 to add, or correction, 2K. I read that wrong. Sorry about that. It took this game just to get 2K to add thumbtacks. That should have been added in the wrestling game since WWE 2012. Very valid point. But this game could have been more if they took it more seriously and not worrying about WWE or overselling or overpromising their first game. I don't think, I don't think they were worried at all about WWE. I think it was just they wanted to do their thing. They wanted to put out an alternative, and it's a prime example. You got to make sure that you're covering all your boxes before you know, hey, and if this comes up, how do we counter that? Well, we're gonna be able to counter that by doing this, or hey, what will we do if this comes up? Oh, easily. We'll just, we'll do this. Rick, I seen a video that people who are doing the wrestling code game was contacted about doing an AEW video game. The talks went nowhere, however. That is interesting to know, they were, considering that. I gotta look more into that, Rick. That's the first time that I'm kinda hearing about that, so but if you're saying that there was a video where you had saw that, yeah, I definitely know about the people behind that wrestling code video game. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Honestly, if they would have gone for something more along the lines of Firestar, Pro Wrestling, They kind of would have gone in maybe in that direction. I think that would have been much more in their alley, definitely much more affordable, and all of that. I think that would have been more feasible for them. Hey, switching it up a little bit, got some bad news to share with you guys. ESPN's unlimited streaming prices is going to be a price hike coming up September 17th. So I know for a lot of you guys, money is tight right now. It's about to get worse. So here's what's going to happen. The new standalone rates as of September 17th, monthly is going to go up to 31.99. So it's going to go up from 29.99. That's the monthly one. The annual, that's going to be $319. That's going to go up from $299. So when it's all said and done, you're looking at a $2 a month jump or a $20 a year jump increase for a monthly and annual subscriptions. And the change applies to standalone plans. Some bundle customers will keep their current rates. So, look, for those of you that maybe have, if you're like me and you have YouTube TV, then you're okay. You're going to continue to get your ESPN Unlimited for free, because all you got to make sure that you do is, and there was so much confusion about this, right? So here, let me set the record straight for you guys. If you have YouTube TV and you're trying to figure out how you can get ESPN Unlimited for free, you gotta access YouTube TV on your mobile phone device. Now, for those of you that normally don't do that, this is the one time where you do want to do it, right? So download YouTube TV on your mobile device. When you do that and you open up YouTube TV on your mobile phone, I want you to then go to the upper right hand corner where your little avatar is, and it's got, the letter for your name for your YouTube TV account and all that. I want you to go there, and then I want you to hit the little gear icon that says settings. And when you do that, I want you to scroll all the way down. Right up under dark theme, you're going to see sports. And when you click on sports, you should see a connect ESPN tab. That is going to be turned off. I need you to click it on. When you click it on, it's going to redirect you basically to ESPN. And if you've never created an account before, you're going to create an account on ESPN. And then when you go back to that YouTube TV app and you go, excuse me, and you go back and you do the connect ESPN again, the two will link up and then you're all set. Now, here's what WWE and a whole bunch of other people, what they didn't tell you. Once you do that, you're going to be looking for ESPN Unlimited on YouTube TV. There sadly is no tab, no category where on YouTube TV there's ESPN Unlimited. That's not how it works. So now that you've linked your YouTube TV with your ESPN account, you then have to go back to the ESPN app and then go to the section there for ESPN Unlimited. Now you'll be able to watch ESPN Unlimited for free as a result of being a YouTube TV customer. And so from there, from your phone, you'll basically have to share screen with your TV or with your computer, or maybe just hop on your computer and watch your ESPN Unlimited sporting event that way. I hope that helps you, because when I initially was trying to find out some weeks back how, like, I was coming across a whole bunch of AI slop. And you know exactly what I mean. Like these days, you think you're going to be either hearing an actual person or seeing an actual person give you whatever information that you're looking for, and you end up hearing a British voice that is telling you about pig feet and pork rinds and how it is so popular in the ghetto. And you're going, why is this AI bot telling me about soul food? How does this English voice know about soul food? It's like it's like the weirdest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that weird, crappy AI slop. And I'm so happy that YouTube and a couple other places are like, nah, man, we're gonna be done with this crap because this is like pure freaking slop. Like, away with you already. So that's that. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Let's switch it up. Congratulations are in order to the big man himself, Dave Bautista. He has landed the starring role as Kratos in the live action God of War series. We were kind of talking about that here on the show just loosely a couple of weeks back. And for those of you maybe under the rock, the original guy that they had as Kratos, he got injured, and unfortunately his injury was going to put him out for like several weeks. I think like a couple of months. And unfortunately, when you have a situation like that where, okay, we're already behind budget and or we've been given these strict guidelines as far as, okay, we need to meet these certain thresholds in order to keep the project alive, or else the whole thing is going to be shut down. And that's this person's job, that's this person's job, and that means that person's now out of a job, and all that other stuff. So they basically were able to work things out with Dave Batista. They got him going in. Last I heard, there are like many scenes now that are being reshot with Dave Batista in the role and all that. And I can't wait to see how that comes out. So if this goes right, production should be wrapped up, I would say, in the next 2, maybe 3 months max. And then we should see this series debut sometime, I would say, first quarter of 2027. We should see this series make its debut. Also, since I was last away with you guys, we got some sad news by veteran actor um Bruce Campbell. He revealed that he is going to be stepping away from the Ash character that he has made so famous through the decades. He's also going to be stepping away from the Evil Dead series, the franchise. And I was a little bit heartbroken when I saw this news, but I understood 1,000%. Um, I'm gonna tell you where my head went when I saw Bruce basically, put this out and everything. Now, this may sound, kind of new to you guys, but here we go. I want to see if I can kind of pull up just some of the things that he had talked about in regards to Evil Dead and everything. So one of the things that Bruce Campbell had talked about in the Men's Journal, he admitted that he has a personal problem with where the recent films have gone. For Campbell, the movies have become too grim and left too much of the franchise's sense of humor behind. Explaining what he'd like to see in any new horror movie entries in the franchise moving forward, he said, I like more humor back in. The three features have been mostly humorless, and I personally have a problem with that. There's no point for these to get too grim. You can be scary without being grim. A little more humor wouldn't kill you, and one hero that you can really root for. Ash is an idiot, but you want him to survive. And I mean, look, anybody that has followed the career of Bruce Campbell, I mean, I still remember, and I thought it was one of the best series of all time, and I wish Fox did not cancel it. Briscoe County Jr. This was about a cowboy that was grabbing these orbs, and these orbs were like from the future, or something like that. It was, I mean, it was years ahead of his time, and I was so mad when they canceled that show. It was on Fox. I think it used to come on. I think it used to come on Sundays, and then I think eventually it went to and then it eventually went to Saturdays, I think. But you think about that, you think about Burn Notice, you think about his role on Xena Warrior Princess. I mean, he's always been about, bringing the humor and all of that. And he also had said on social media, apologies if this news seems new. It's hard to communicate everything to everyone. He wrote this on Twitter. I tapped out after Ash versus Evil Dead. Mostly the reasons were ability and interests in equal measure. I didn't want Ash to be compromised by declining skills and as a borderline geezer. He would go on to say, my interests have diverged. I'll always love Evil Dead to death, literally. And remember, he noted that he was offered a cameo in Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise 2023, explaining that the character is not part of any big overriding story going forward. But let's not also forget Bruce Campbell is dealing with a form of cancer. He hasn't disclosed what type of cancer he's dealing with. He basically said, I'm not trying to take his words out of context, but I believe he said something along the lines of, it's not curable, but it's treatable. And you're kind of hearing that and you're like, so what does that mean exactly? Right. So are you going to be able to kick its ass, or, so I got to tell you, when I saw that post that he made on social media, there was a part of me that was just kind of saying quietly to myself, is it possible he's just getting himself and his family ready? Is that like really where his focus is right now? Because he did say way before all this even happened that he was going to be stepping back from projects, that he was going to be just, doing a lot of meet and greets, conventions. He was going to be cutting all of that back so that he could focus on his health and everything. And he was hoping that, he'd see people down the road real soon. So I really can't help but wonder, two-parter, just one, like, how is he doing, like, health wise, right? Because when you hear somebody say it's not curable, but it's treatable, and you're like, okay, that's very, so are you going to kick its ass or not? Right? This form of cancer that you got, and then the other part to that too is just, okay, so you're scaling back, right? And then to have that comment come out in regards to, the Evil Dead franchise, I don't know. I might not even be on to anything, but I'm just telling you what was kind of clicking in my head as I was hearing a lot of that was going on. But whatever is going on with him, I definitely wish him a speedy recovery. Nothing but, best wishes, good strength, power, positivity. I'm definitely trying to send that his way. Also, I don't know if you guys had checked this out yet, but the new Wolverine game for PS5, that's going to be dropping in September, September 15th to be exact. So if you were on the fence about getting yourself a PS5, now is the time to be getting into it, because I promise you, they're probably going to be really, really hard to get a hold of as we go into Christmas season, right? So, like, literally right now, you can go get yourself a PS5, but then you may, if you got an extra couple of dollars laying around, you may want to treat yourself to the Wolverine edition PS5. That thing is pretty. It's yellow. It's the Wolverine trademark yellow. It's got a badass black and white graphic of Wolverine's face and his claws on it. Obviously, you get the Wolverine game. The controller is kick-ass. It's yellow and black. It looks really, really good. Will I be checking out Wolverine? No. I would rather look, it's one thing if the family wants to, because I am kind of slowly getting back into video games. This is not a all points bulletin. This does not mean you hit me up and you go, Lee, are you playing? Because I will be honest with you, when I do play, it is so like out of a whole calendar year, I will probably pick up a controller and play a game maybe about out of a whole year, I will probably do it like about 10 times, right? About 10 times. So I'm excited about the new Gears of War game that's going to be coming out for the Xbox. And as I told you guys, if not last week, the week before, I did play the E-Day demo. I loved it. It reminded me why I fell in love with the first three Gears of War games in the first place. I did pre-order E-Day, so I will be playing that regularly when I get an opportunity. I think at this point, the way I'm going to be doing it is, as far as most active, is when I don't have a semester. As long as I don't have a semester going on, then 9 times out of 10, that is when I will probably be a little bit active. But then even at that, if I'm working, then it's like, then it's really going to be limited, right? But that's how I'm kind of picturing that I would do it. But yeah, man, the PS5's got some very interesting games. I'm looking at and I'm going, man, I wish I could play this. I wish I could play that. Like off the break, I want to play the Wolverine game. Off the break, I want to play the Spider-Man games that I've been missing out on because those have been getting a lot of praise from folks. So yeah, there's a couple of titles I'm looking at and I'm going, I've yet to play God of War. I have never played, true story, I've never played a God of War game. My best friend, he loves Kratos. He loves the God of War franchise. So anytime I would go over his house, I would watch him or I'd watch his wife play God of War, and that's how I would, understand what the franchise was all about and everything. And beautifully stunning, what they're freaking playing and all that. But yeah, that PS5 bundle, you can pre-order that bad boy right now. Now it's not on Amazon. You're gonna have to go over to Sony's store, it looks like, in order to get that bad boy. So good luck with that. Elsewhere, speaking about entertainment and all that, I did watch the second episode of the new HBO hit series Lanterns. And man, I tell you, I love this show. I really, really love this show. I hope, like with True Detective, I hope that when Lanterns is over, we get to have the opportunity to own this on DVD. I can't tell you, like, the last time I was very excited for an HBO hit series that was on DVD, that actually made it to DVD, and I actually got it. I think it was for Christmas slash birthday. It was True Detective. It was the one with uh I'm trying to think. It was the one with Marshala Ali, and I can't think of the other dude. Is it Steven Dorff? Steven Dorn? The guy from Blade, the villain from Blade, the first one. Um, I remember just how deep I was into that series, how much I loved it, and the family had surprised me one Christmas, months after that respective season had wrapped up. They surprised me and they got that for me on DVD and everything. This episode, I thought it was so interesting how the difference between we really got the difference between Cal. Oh my God, I said Cal. Forgive me there. I'm thinking of the actor's real name. We really understood the difference, and we're starting to understand why John Stewart has been tagged the next successor, the new Green Lantern. We're understanding now. We're starting to at least understand why he's next in line. We're understanding how Hal pretty much operates as the Green Lantern. And what was the most telling tale for me was, and I really kind of marinated on this after the episode was over. It was like, okay, so Hal is trying to teach John how to fly, and yet John like has this bird that just pops up like deep in his subconscious, like this bird just pops up, right? And I thought that was very interesting, and it was something that just kept nagging me ever since the episode was over, and then even going into today. And I liked how Hal was a little bit, I won't say rattled, but he was like, what's the deal with that bird? Why did why did of all things, like, why did you make a bird? Like, I don't understand that. What's with that? And John is like, nothing. It's just a bird. And the fact that John did not have the ring, this is the other thing that a lot of people are sleeping on for that second episode. John did not have the ring for virtually the entire episode, as Hal sends him off on this goose chase to basically go retrieve the lantern because he was down to like 5% power juice for his ring was Hal. So he sends John off to go, do this little errand for him and feed his pet. Go feed his pet. Oh, and while you're doing all that, somehow keep this bird that you created alive. If the bird goes away, you have failed. And John is going through all kinds of crap in this episode, including fighting people that are looking for the manhunter and all that. It was just, it says a lot about how John is able to do things with ease, like subconsciously, whereas Hal has to do a lot of thinking, right? Night and day, just night and day, the way both of these guys approach and their handling of the ring and all that. And then I also like how I know myself and all the other marks out there, when Hal put on the costume. We didn't think we were going to get the costume in the second episode. I know for me personally, I didn't think we were going to finally see the costume, because remember, this is only like 8 episodes. I thought maybe we were going to finally see the costume like around episode 6 or something like that. So to get the costume in episode 2, and we're like, yeah, like that's what's up. That was badass. Him, Hal putting on the costume, and then at the very end going to see Sinestro to find out, like, yo, tell me about the Manhunters. And Sinestro is like, okay, but you need to talk to me about John Stewart. It's like, wait a minute, this dude is in prison. How does this dude know what he knows about John Stewart? Like, who is feeding this dude information? Like, what the hell? They set up a really good, strong third episode for next week. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that third episode. Um, but great series so far. If you guys haven't started watching Lanterns yet, but you got access to HBO Max, like, you'll thank me later. Like, we can feel how we want to feel. If it was mixed there for Superman, we're well within our right. If we felt a certain way about Supergirl, especially given the source material, we're justified for feeling that way. We could essentially say that it's been a little bit rocky with James Gunn and crew at the helm, but trust me when I say this. If you appreciate when I review something and I bring it to the table with you guys, trust me when I say Lanterns, they're hitting home runs with this. I mean, it's that damn good of a series. By the way, let me let me not overlook this in regards to Lanterns. The sheriff, and you got to forgive me, I'm still learning everybody's names. So it's going to take me maybe one or two more episodes to get everybody's names down packed. But The fact that she says, and I almost missed these little Easter eggs, but the fact that when I'm trying to think, I missed the Easter egg where she was like, "Yeah, well, tell Barb I said hello." I'm like, okay, there's a reason why we eavesdropped in on that. Okay, what's that about? Then later on, the sheriff is like, this is my jurisdiction. I can't go through these jurisdiction problems again. And I'm like, again? Like, what the hell does that mean? Um, and then she mentions something about how she used to work in Gotham or whatever. And we're like, holy shit. They are slowly introducing us to Batman. So the way that they're laying this out, they're literally telling us that before this Superman guy popped up, that Batman has at least been already, he's already been running around for like 10 years or whatever, right? You're like, holy shit. Or if not, maybe a little longer, right? So he's not a veteran, he's not like a old, it's not a Frank Miller kind of Batman, but he has been running around. And so I like what they're doing here, man. I like what they're doing. I can't help but wonder now if by the time we get to the end of Green Lantern, I can't help but wonder if it's going to be a case where um so much of a foundation has been laid out for us in okay, now Batman exists, but by the time we get to this next project, now we're going to properly introduce you to who the new Batman is, right? Because that's my big question right now is, you know, who's the new Batman, right? James Gunn has already, I think, said that, hey, they found their new Batman. Okay, well, clue us in, James. We want to know who it is. Shit. Let's see. I know over here in the DC area here, my home turf, we had over the weekend the 2026 DC race happened right here in my own backyard. And look, I hope that another one does happen. I don't really know if I want to see it be a yearly thing, right? But if you wanted to maybe do like a every other year type of deal, like I can stomach that. But in talking to friends, family, and associates that live in DC, it definitely was a clusterfuck. Let me tell you, because look, on the one hand, great attraction, great for the businesses, great for all the restaurants, particularly the mom and pop restaurants, mom and pop local businesses, like great for all of them, right? But then you're thinking about the fact that, oh my God, now the cleanup begins. And the cleanup, from what I understand, it all is not going to be straightened up for damn, did I hear right? Was it like September? Hang on. I'm trying to think. DC cleanup. Because I remember reading it. I remember reading it and I was like, because I read an article, I think it was by Washington Post earlier today. And I just remember going, wow, so it's going to take them a couple of days, huh? And yeah, there's dozens of roads that's been closed in DC because of that Freedom 250 Grand Prix. And one thing that is guaranteed for certain, things are not going to be opening up like, immediately. It's like as I'm speaking right now, shit's not open back up. Yeah, I am remembering right. I am remembering right. Um there's going to be some areas that's going to be remaining closed for traffic through September 3rd. You heard me right, through September 3rd. So you would have thought that, like, okay, well, it was on a Sunday. These guys should be done by Wednesday. No, it's going to take that long to have everything like get back to normal. Like, and my friends and the family and all that in DC, they basically were like, it's a shitstorm over here, man. Like it's chaotic. Like, so many roads are closed off and like you gotta do all this weird navigating just to get around and all that. Like Like, I hear you. Like, I hear you. Like, I feel for you. Like, seriously. I know, presentation wise, it did look pretty good. It definitely looked pretty good. It had a few hiccups here and there. I can tell you this: a lot of DC, Maryland, Virginia residents were pretty pissed because we have something that's really big out here: illegal street racing. Right down to the point, I actually did a original report since I am studying to be a full-time journalist. I'm currently pursuing a bachelor's in that. I actually had did this original story about illegal street racing, and I had spoke to county officials about it and everything. And I can just imagine the amount of drivers that were like, how many years like we've been doing this and we've been having to run away from the cops, and now we get street racing in our own backyard and we don't get to take part in it. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I know they're pissed. I know they're pissed and everything, right? And I'm sure some of them were like, yo, we drive 10 times better than the people that they had at the race. Like, what the hell? Like, we know these streets better than, we should have been behind the wheel. And I get that. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of funny little jabs that's going on and all that. But like for the most part, if you want to get like my thoughts and hear like what I'm hearing from those I'm interacting with, it's like it's about 65 to 70% of people that are like, wow, this was exciting, this was cool. We're probably never going to see something like this ever again. So this was cool for what it was worth. And then we have others that's like, the rest of the percentage, they're like, this is a fucking nightmare. We didn't need this. This is just a waste of money. And, even when you hear that the NASCAR people, because I was watching this report by I'm trying to think of it, Tim Olberg. He works for NBC4 Washington out here, and he did this extended report where he spoke to one of the main heads behind NASCAR about this Grand 250 pre that was here in DC. And he was like, who's picking up the tab for this? And dude was like, oh, no, 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 100%. It's all us. He's like, so DC residents are not. He's like, no, DC residents are not picking up the tab for this. This is 100% all large. He's like, and Tim, not for nothing, we're actually losing a lot of money doing this. And he was like, how much can you get into it? And he's like, one thing I can tell you, it is definitely, very, very, very deep in the millions. And he was like, that's why it's so awesome that we are partnering up with some of these sponsors. And then he started naming some of the sponsors, but he was like, no, 100% of the tab, we're picking it up. And then the question has shifted to, well, some would look at this and say that you're doing this because you're trying to win brownie points with the president and his administration. And the NASCAR dude was like, we've had a long lasting relationship with whoever the president has been in office. We've always had some type of affiliation with them and all of that. So, it's like, okay. But the main point was 100% of everything that was being done, like it's coming out of NASCAR's pocket. DC residents ain't got nothing to do with that. So you're like, okay. So sometimes it's good to have a little bit of chaos, a little bit of anarchy. I know there's this one brother that they had interviewed when I was flipping through the channels, seeing just how some people were reacting. And this one guy, he was very candid. He was like, look, I've lived in DC my entire life. I was born and raised here. I'm going to die here. And I can tell you this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I can promise you that I'm never going to see anything like this again in DC. So I'm greatly honored that I was able to experience this, because I promise you, this is a once in a lifetime deal. I'm never going to see anything like this again in my lifetime. And that just kind of made me nod my head and go, that's a nice approach to have to that. Like legit, that's a nice approach to have to that. So there's my thoughts about that. Let's see what else. Yo, rest in peace, or in this case, rest in power to blues singer Lattimore. I love me some Lattimore. He passed away over the weekend at the age of 86. And Lattimore had some damn good hits back in the day. If you knew your music, I tell you the way. Look, for me, one of the things that I'll remember most about Lattimore was the hair. He had that Kenny Rogers kind of hair from back in the day, and when he would sing, he would usually have his shirt all opened up, showing his little hairy chest and all that, and he's doing this thing, but he had hits such as Let Me Go, Long Distance Love, Let's Straighten It Out. Hell of a blues singer, man. He was also kind of known in the R&B world as well, but he really screamed blues. He was a straight blues guy, right down to the point he actually was inducted in the Blues Hall of Fame. What was that? If not in the late 90s, it would have been in the early 2000s, like way before 2005, if I remember correctly. But he passed away. Also, Connie Burton, the late the sister of Metallica's late bassist Cliff Burton. She passed away. It was said that she passed away surrounded by family. She passed away over the weekend. That was really, really sad to hear. Um, I'm trying to see if I can find, and here's what was really crazy about this. Less than 2 months after a fundraiser was launched for a life saving surgery for her, she unfortunately passed away. And she passed away on Wednesday, August 19th. And the news was relayed on social media via Cliff Burton Day and Cliff Burton family Instagram accounts, as well as an associate. And very, very sad to hear that. And Connie, I'm going on and on and on about her because Connie was that main engine that basically kept her brother Cliff Burton's legacy and his impact on Metallica and all that. She kept it alive, including stories that she shared as part of a documentary a while back. The Salvation Kingdom, I think it was called, and all that. So she survived by her daughter and her partner for the last 24 years. But, uh, that sucks. That just really sucks. I was so crushed when I heard that, and everything that I had heard about her over the years. I mean, she was a total fucking pro. She was a sweetheart, man. Also, Motown singer Jenny Bradford, she passed away at the age of 87. Money, that's what I want. Yeah, that was her. She was behind that song. We also had actress Shelby Fabrez. She passed away at the age of 82. If you were a fan of the hit series Coach, starring Craig T. Nelson, I love Craig T. Nelson. Craig T. Nelson was also involved on a hit show on CBS back in the day called The District, where he basically played like this. Everybody trips over Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck as the New York commissioner, police chief, and all that. But like before that, it was The District with Craig T. Nelson, and he basically was the Baltimore commissioner of the police and all that. So just thought I kind of mentioned it was a good series. If you guys never watched it, it was actually a really good series. I think it lasted about 5, 6, or 7 seasons, give or take. I never did understand why that show was canceled, but yeah, uh, Shelby, she passed away at the age of 82. A lot of people clocked out uh, past several days, and then one big one. We got to make sure we give him his flowers. Michael Wright. That name may not sound familiar, but if you ever watched Oz, the hit HBO series back in the day, if you ever religiously watched Black Lightning on the CW, this guy appeared on a couple of episodes. He was also known for co-starring with Wesley Snipes in Sugar Hill. What was that? Like, I think 1994, 93 or 94. He was also in The Five Heartbeats, which was written and directed by one of my favorite black writers and directors of all time, and Robert Townsend. And it puts a big old smile on my face to see that he is still involved with the industry today. He has actually directed uh, many episodes of hit TV shows. He's directed episodes of Black Lightning. He's directed episodes of all the Power shows. I mean, you name it. Whether you want to talk Kanan or you want to talk Force, or I mean, he's done his fair share of directing. But Michael Wright, he passed away at the age of 70. He was surrounded by family, and the family is just really all these families are grieving, but like from what Robert Townsend had shared on social media, this family particularly, they are really hurting. And I saw some of the posts that I know the son put out something, the daughter put out something on Instagram as well, and that was a touching tribute that she had for her father, where she said, she used to always look forward to getting random texts from her dad because he'd be like, "Hey, guess what I learned today?" And then, because he was just this encyclopedia of trivial knowledge, right down to the point that, like, at his home, there would be like all these books of encyclopedias and other stuff, and he would just be revealing to her, like, what all he's been reading and everything. And she shared a really cool story about how when she first began riding a bike, how she was so scared, but he was there like every step of the way until she had finally realized he wasn't there holding the bike, and she pretty much was doing the damn thing on her own. And from there, they'd be riding down like dangerous streets. It sounded like in New York or whatever, but she was doing the damn thing, right? Hell of an actor, a very underrated actor, I personally feel. Dude had such great range. He could be very soft, very sweet, a sympathetic figure. Just a heartbreaking sympathetic figure that you wanted to see do better, right? But then there would be this explosive rage about him, and that voice, that raspy trademark voice where you're like, dude, I don't know, you've been smoking too many cigarettes, but shit, man, your voice sound good, like legit. Like, you hear his voice and you're like, man, if I had that voice, I could make me some serious money, like legit. I mean, he just had one of those. You just knew certain people when you hear their voice. Like, for instance, Keith David. You know his voice when you hear it. Um, the girl that does the voice of Bart Simpson, like anytime she speaks, or the girl that does the voice of Lisa, like, them as soon as Mark Hamill. By now, everybody knows Mark Hamill's voice, right? Because he's done so much in animation for decades. You just know his voice when you hear it. And Michael Wright was definitely in that same kind of camp and everything, man. Um, we should have gotten a lot more from him in Hollywood. He should have been involved in many more other projects. There's a guy who you look at and you go, man, if anybody should have been involved like on Empire, or if anybody should have been involved Yeah, on the power shows, like Michael Wright, definitely, one of those guys. I loved his role particularly, and I was telling the wife this. I said, "Man, I would always get him mixed up with Leon because they kind of, to me at least, they both kind of look similar, right?" And even she was like, "Yeah, sometimes we get them mixed up too." I'm like, "Yeah, like it freaking sucks, because." And the way I would have to remember Leon, I would have to go, wait, Leon was the one that was in Madonna's Like a Prayer video. So that's how I would always, be able to separate the two and everything. And then plus with Leon, I would always go, "Ain't no one here to see you, Otis." That's how I pretty much would would remember Leon usually. But I remember when I used to work at the call center for a marketing research company many years back. In the call center, it was predominantly black, right? And normally we all were like family. We'd be cracking jokes on one another, and then what you do this weekend? Oh, I just kicked back and I had watch, da 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 da. And you know, a lot of times one of the main movies that would come up that we would talk about, because at some point somebody, usually every couple of months, was watching it, we would talk about the Five Heartbeats. And our favorite scene, of course, is Leon. Sorry, no, sorry, not Leon, but Michael Wright. And he's basically, telling the band, hey, I'm ready here. I'm ready to get back into the mix here. What's up? And then he'd be like, "Nights like this, I wish that raindrops would fall." And true story in regards to the Five Heartbeats, the way Robert Townsend had approached that movie, obviously he was influenced greatly by a lot of the acts from Motown, right? And I know initially there was some red tape that he had met, because he met a lot of resistance when he was trying to do the movie and all that. And if I remember correctly, this is where it's been so many years, my brain gets a little scrambled. But if I remember correctly, I think Robert Townsend was trying to see about speaking to members of the Temptation, and he was coming across like some really bad red tape. And Robert had to basically pivot the project in a different direction. And so then it was like, okay, well, rather than just focus on one Motown group, let's just focus on like just that whole era, various bands. And like one of the acts that served as consulting producers for him and all that was the Dells. And so he'd be able to, he was sponging their brain just anytime, any place. He was always, "Hey, tell me, this. And then when it came time for them to record some music, he didn't even have to go that far. That one song from the Five Heartbeats, our house is our house is a house of love, and it don't get any better. That was a real popular song back in the day. I think it was even nominated for an award. I still remember the music video too. It was a black and white music video. It was really good. But Sugar Hill, the Sugar Hill movie too, playing the younger brother of Wesley Snipes' character. That basically, for all intents and purposes, we were watching a black version of The Godfather 2. I mean, let's call it for what it was. That's literally what we were watching, but it had a black spin to it. Essentially, that was a really good movie. Michael was singing in that one too. I actually put it up on social media. I won't I won't go through the specifics there, but Yeah, it was kind of sad seeing all these people that had passed away. But if there is such thing as a utopia, hopefully there's somewhere where there's no more pain, there's nothing but happiness, and they're at peace, right? That's what's up. All right, so we got another show in the books. This was your last deluxe edition of the RCWR show. Once again, friendly reminder, effective Monday, August 31st, we're going to start doing abbreviated shows. So be prepared for that. We're only going to be going about an hour 15 minutes at most. A lot of you guys will like that. Some of you may be a little disappointed with that. But that's how we're going to be doing it. So mainly it'll consist of talk WWE Raw. We'll try to burn through that as quickly as possible. Try to get through that in about maybe 45 to 50 minutes tops. And then dedicate the rest of the free time going over any interesting headlines that's available, right? That we can dive into. So next week we're definitely going to talk about Raw, of course, but we've got oh, you know what? I knew I almost forgot something. We didn't even talk about the Dark Side of the Ring episodes that I had, previewed earlier. Yeah, and that's like 3 episodes. So here's the thing, if I were to get into that right now, because we're already at like the 2 hour, 25-minute mark. If we were to get into that right now, I promise you, that would take us up to like a 3 hour show. And I don't want to do that to you guys, like legit. What I'll do for you guys instead, I will actually sit down and I will actually do an audio version review of those episodes in question, and we'll just upload them to the YouTube channel as exclusives for you guys to check out. Right? That's how we'll do it, and then that way, when we come back next Monday, besides the Raw review, I'll still do the 2 reviews of Dark Side for you guys for Missy Hyatt's episode, and then the new Dark Side episode that's supposed to be premiering this week, right? That's how we'll do it. That's how I'll make up to you guys. You want to be checking out the YouTube channel anyway, man, because we are getting in the habit of regularly posting exclusive content and all that. We do have a new foodie review that's up. We also have a new WWE Ballers unveiling. I'm actually going to be sitting down with Tams first thing Tuesday, and we're going to be doing another foodie review and another Ballers taping. So be on the lookout. If you're not connected to the YouTube channel, like be connected and all that. Be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed for on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. Remember, I am all on social media. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. And hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, smash the like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that jazz really helps out a ton. I cannot stress it enough, especially in this day and age where now more than ever, independent media, like what you're checking out right now, every little bit helps as far as the support goes. Yeah. So in the meantime, be safe and be kind to one another. Enjoy the rest of the week. And I will see you next go round. Adios, y'all, and take care.